Breaking news, special edition of Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here, coming at you from the beautiful Gulf of Mexico. I'm on vacation, but the news stops for nobody as the Baltimore Ravens have signed safety Eddie Jackson, as he will be the new number 3 safety for Baltimore, replacing Geno Stone, as the Ravens were in the safety market. We've known this for quite some time, as they had a visit with Jamal Adams a few weeks ago. Ultimately, he ended up signing with the Tennessee Titans. The Ravens didn't have a ton of cap space, still waiting to see what contract details are. But for this Baltimore Ravens team, this gives them a guy that I would think is going to be on a vet minimum deal, shouldn't cost a ton of money, and has played at a high level before. Although it's been a minute, you go back to 2022 was the last really good season he had. Last year wasn't so great. But now you have a veteran that's played at a high level that you get on a cheap, prove-it contract, and that fills a position of need. And not to mention, training camp is just a few days away, just around the corner. This move makes a ton of sense for the Baltimore Ravens. And I know what some of you are going to think right away and say, well, weren't they interested in Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in football? He's still on the free agent market. Why not a guy like him? Well, the reality is that the Ravens probably couldn't afford Justin Simmons, to be honest. So this was about the best option that they had realistically, was to get Eddie Jackson. So I like this signing for Baltimore. We'll dive into it more here in just a second, but I want to get your one-word reaction. I'll give you my one-word reaction. Chime into the comment section. Let us know what it is. Give me your one word to the Ravens signing Eddie Jackson. Folks, this is why you subscribe. Look, I'm on vacation, and we're still bringing you Ravens content. And we are so close to 17,000 subscribers on the channel, just over 10 away from reaching that next milestone. So if you could do me a favor, a free way to support the work we're doing here on the channel is simply by subscribing. Every subscriber matters. Doesn't matter if we're on vacation or not, we're still finding a way to bring you up-to-the-minute news of what's happening in your favorite team here on my day off, making it happen, enjoying myself. I haven't even gotten the water yet, folks. That's how important this is. We want to make sure you're covered. Subscribe now, youtube.com/RavensTV, to stay up to date with your Baltimore Ravens. All right, so a couple more things. My one-word reaction to the Ravens signing Eddie Jackson. My one word is needed. This is something that just takes care of a big need, because I know that a lot of you have said, hey, what about Ardarius Washington? And the fact that Ardarius Washington had looked so good this offseason, why not him take on the role of being your number 3 safety, potentially? And while I understand that, and he's done a very good job this offseason, the reality is, if you're playing 3 safeties at a time, then you need even more than that. And so now Ardarius Washington takes on that number 4 safety spot, and he'll have his name called upon to take over if anything happens to these 3. Eddie Jackson, Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton. He'll be that guy. He'll still get plenty of playing time one way or the other, so you took care of things there. I look at Eddie Jackson, and, you know, although he's not the all-pro player he was back in 2018, 2-time Pro Bowler and all that, you're not asking him to be an all-pro caliber player anymore. You're just asking him to be that number 3 guy in that safety room. And I think he's more than capable of doing that, of being that number 3 safety guy, to be that impact player, if you will, to be the extra body, to get this defense, to allow it to be creative with Zach Orr and company. To me, that's what I'm looking at, is just that flexibility that he potentially brings there. So now, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you head into training camp and you're feeling a lot better about where you're at with this defense. We know that they had 20 free agents this offseason. You obviously couldn't bring back everybody like you wanted to, just with the way the salary cap works, the nature of the beast and all that. But I got to give a lot of credit to GM Eric DeCosta for making the most of not a great situation, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, of not having a whole lot of money to spend, knowing that you were going to lose a lot of guys, and this team that they're going to put out there, you know, beginning with training camp, is about as good as what realistically we could have asked for. You go back to the draft, bringing in Nate Wiggins, who they were not expecting to be available at 30, and he might be one of your starting outside corners. You get Roger Rosengarten in the second round. The offensive tackle out of Washington, he's expected to be a starter for you and fill that need on the offensive line. I think EDC has done a really good job, and this is just another example of that, of the work that they're doing to find these gems, if you will. And the Ravens have a really good track record when you think about of what they've done with finding these guys, these veterans at a cheap cost. You look at Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, Justin Houston, and others. They know what they're doing, and there's not a ton of risk involved. Because think about this. Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, if Eddie Jackson doesn't work, if he doesn't work out, doesn't play to a high level, or can't stay healthy, then where are you back to? Oh, yeah, that's right, with Ardarius Washington, who you already had filling that spot. So for me, this just makes a ton of sense for Baltimore to go this route, bringing in Jackson in this sense. And, you know, you look at this Ravens team now, and the question that we have talked about all offseason with this group is, do they have enough to contend with the Kansas City Chiefs? It's not about contending with the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, and all that. The focus is solely on beating Kansas City. And if you're the Baltimore Ravens, this makes you one step closer on the defensive side of the ball. But you're still behind when it comes to offense. This Baltimore Ravens team still needs to find another receiver, in my opinion. And maybe Tez Walker is going to develop and turn into that guy, potentially speaking. But that remains to be seen if that's going to happen or not. So the next move, I still anticipate one more before this season actually begins, whether it's sometime before training camp, during, or in the preseason, whatever it may be. The next move for EDC and company is see what they can find in the wide receiver market, because right now I can't just sit there and say I trust this Ravens receiving core to get the job done when you're asking Rashad Bateman, who can't stay healthy, to be your number 2 guy. So that's my concern, is where they go next from here. But how would you grade the signing of Eddie Jackson? Knowing what we know now, doesn't sound like a ton of money. You found a former All-Pro to be your number 3 safety, and you took care of position of need. I think it's a win. I got to go at least an A, maybe A minus, something to that effect. This is a home run. Credit where credit's due. I think that the Ravens found what they were looking for at a cheap cost and put themselves where they need to be in this defense. And as good as Geno Stone was last year, I think that Eddie Jackson might be just as good as what Geno Stone was last year. And if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you'll take that because you know that Kyle Hamilton's going to take another step up. And Marcus Williams has been solid. So you're in really good shape with that defense. Now let's just see what the offense does from here. Get your grades in. Let us know. Subscribe now to Ravens Rundown for continuing Ravens coverage. There's another view of the water. I got to get in it and enjoy my vacation. Let me get back to vacation, folks. Subscribe now. Appreciate you being here. This special edition of Ravens Rundown. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.